Hi there, welcome to the Upcycle Design Lab. If this is your first time here, my name's Cindy and I craft using recycled and repurposed materials, and normally I do craft tutorials. But some of you may know I'm getting ready for a craft show in a couple of weeks, and while I'm not super experienced at selling at craft shows, I have attended a couple of other craft shows. So I thought today I would spend a little bit of time talking about the mental and emotional aspects of being a craft show vendor. If you're thinking about attending a craft show, particularly if it's your first one, you're probably feeling pretty overwhelmed. And there are lots of practical resources out there that can help you with booth setup, costing your items, how much inventory you should take, how to take payments. All of those practical steps you can find video tutorials on. And in fact, I did a full series on all of the stuff that I learned from going to my first craft show. I will link to that in the description and you can check that out if you're interested. But in addition to all the practical things that you need to do to get prepared to go to a craft show, I think that there's a lot that you can learn about being mentally and emotionally prepared. And in fact, I think that might be the most important piece of preparation that you can do. So I've identified 7 phases that I've gone through as a craft show vendor, and I'm going to share those with you. I do want to mention that while they are sort of linear, there's a start and an end, you can find yourself moving in and out of some of those phases throughout the process. I am hoping that I don't discourage anyone by talking about some of these things. And if you are already feeling overwhelmed, I hope you'll stay around till the end of the video when I'll give you my one and only reason why, if you're thinking about it, I think you should choose to go. So the first stage or phase is joy, which is what all of you probably feel if you are makers and creators. When you create something new and it turns out well and you enjoy the process of making it and sharing it with other people. Maybe you get some good feedback from other people and they tell you how cute or wonderful or useful your item is. You have a sense of pride and a sense of joy. The second phase is excitement, and this happens when you have the first inkling that you might want to go to a craft show. And you start thinking about all of the fun aspects of being a craft show vendor. Selling your items, making a lot of items, seeing them all together, getting the feedback that other people are willing to pay for your items. And so you start revolving around all of the happy aspects of what it would feel like to sell at a craft show. Unfortunately, the third phase is doubt. And that may be where you're finding yourself right now if you're watching this video. A lot of people don't get past the doubt stage. I'm sure that I lived in that place for years before I finally got the courage to go to my first craft show. But the doubt settles in when you realize how much work you're getting involved in. You realize there are a lot of things that you don't know. You don't know how to navigate sales tax. You may have to fill out an application, and there's extra paperwork that you're not familiar with, in addition to all of the fun aspects of actually making and creating inventory for the sale. When you're in the doubt stage, you are undoubtedly feeling extremely overwhelmed. And one of the best ways to get out of the doubt stage is to start educating yourself on how to figure out some of the things that you don't know. And that's what will take you into the next phase, which is faith and the willingness to learn. I put these two things together because they really do go hand in hand. You have to kind of start to move out of the doubt with faith in yourself and faith in the things that you're making, and faith that you can figure everything out that you need to learn. And then as you're learning more, your faith and your confidence grows, and so they really do build off of each other. And as I mentioned, there are tons of resources out there for you to research all the practical aspects of getting ready for a craft show. The next step is the actual execution of all of these things. So as you're learning, you need to go ahead and fill out applications or figure out how you're going to take payments and making inventory and really doing all of the hard work, figuring out how to set up your booth. Some of it's fun, some of it is kind of like you don't want to deal with sales tax. Who does? But you do need to figure that out. So this phase is probably the longest, most time-consuming phase, and you can certainly find yourself slipping back into self-doubt, but sometimes also bumping back all the way up to joy. If you find that you've made something new that you're really excited about sharing, or when you put your booth together and you see all of your items laid out, and it's a very gratifying and fun place to be. So during the execution phase, you can certainly move through back through some of the other phases. And one thing that I can virtually guarantee will happen during this phase is that there will be a moment when you really wish that you were not going. It probably happens right after you've committed to going. Maybe you've just paid your booth fee, or you've told people that you're going. You've made this sort of public statement that you're going to do this thing. And what I have found is that sometime after that moment is a time when I just kind of go, ugh, what am I thinking? I don't want to do this. So if you have that moment, I think it's completely natural. I hope that you'll move through it. I think that you will. If you continue working toward your goal, you do get through that moment. But I think there is a time where you may really feel like, what am I doing? Why did I think I wanted to do this? But assuming that you make it all the way through the execution, you've done everything you need to do, you are going to make it to the 6th phase, which is the actual event. And this is, of course, what everyone is worried about when they're thinking about going, because you don't know what to expect. And you may have a really good show, you may have a very disappointing show. A few things that I believe are true about craft shows and vendors are that everyone is trying to portray a sense of confidence and happiness and friendliness, and everyone is also very nervous and hoping that they have a good sale. Everyone is feeling the same emotions that you are, and I think that that's probably true whether they're very seasoned vendors or whether they're new vendors. Now, certainly some of those emotions and fears are quelled the more and more that you do it. But I personally, after attending a few shows, feel that it will always be an unknown going to a new show. Even going to a show that you've been to before, but it's the following year, could be very different. And so I'm just here to tell you that in my experience, I believe that there's always going to be that tension and that nervousness and room for self-doubt to crop up. But with that, there can also be a lot of fun and satisfaction and enjoyment in the experience. The final phase, which I think is probably the most important phase, is the evaluation phase. And it's easy if you have a bad show just to try to brush it off and maybe never think about it again. I have also experienced a very bad craft show, and I have a video on that I will link to as well. But I do think the evaluation piece of it is the most important piece, because if you're going to a craft show strictly because you just want to sell your stuff and make a lot of money, then I'm sorry if I've wasted your time, but you're probably watching the wrong video, because I'm just trying to share with you how to get the most out of the experience if you choose to go. And of course, the goal is to sell your items and to make a profit. But there are so many other pieces to going to a craft show that I think you miss out on if you're totally focused on just making a profit. If you have a business, it's a great way to get your logo and your face out to the public. So it's a great way to build your brand and meet your customers face to face. You can get direct feedback on your products and your pricing by asking or just listening and watching how people interact with your booth. You can also watch the customers and how they interact with the other vendors and the other booths. You can make note of what things are working, how are other vendors catching the eye of the customers, What are they selling? If you ask yourself the right questions, there's just a lot that you can learn at any craft show. You can also do networking with other vendors. They're a great resource for everything from new product ideas to how they display their items and where they get their displays. And there's just a place for personal growth. So if you go with an open mind and an attitude of learning, I believe that there's a lot that you can get out of any craft show that you attend. Which leads me to my one reason why I think you should choose to go. And that is that our choices have consequences. And I hope that's not too theoretical or philosophical for you, but I believe the consequences of not going are that we disappoint ourselves. I know that's true for me. Even if I tell myself, oh, I'm too busy, I always kind of know deep down that I chickened out. And the worst piece of that is that I believe that the things that we do or don't do have a way of sort of multiplying. So if we've done that enough times, we can stop even noticing when we're holding ourselves back from having new experiences. Now, choosing to go obviously also has some consequences. Hopefully you have a good experience, which presumably means that you made some money, you learned a lot, you had some personal growth, you might choose to do it again. It's given you the opportunity and information to help others, and it helps lead to the next thing, whether that's another craft show or something entirely different. But having a bad experience at a craft show can offer a lot of those same things. There's the opportunity to learn a lot, to grow, and that gives you the opportunity to help others and also makes it easier for you to move on to the next thing, whether you want to try another craft show or whether you want to go in a totally different direction. And having a bad experience of any kind often comes with a bonus that over time you can find some humor in it and it makes a good story. So if you believe, as I do, that life is really only made up of three things, and that is our dreams, which is our future thinking, our experiences, which is our present, and our memories, which is obviously our past, then going to the craft show kind of ticks all of those boxes. And not going doesn't check any of them. So in short, I guess what I'm saying is that I believe choosing to go is a life-affirming action. And I'll leave you to chew on one of my favorite quotes. If you're interested in my first craft show series, or if you'd like to know more about my upcycled crafts, you can click one of the playlists below. I'd love to have you join my YouTube community if you haven't already. And also, if you're interested in getting the Upcycle Design Lab's newsletter, you can check the description box for a place to sign up for my email. I wish you all the best in your craft show adventures. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you back here soon in the lab.